All right. Hello, everyone. I think we're still waiting for folks to join. Kristine, are you going to be on the video?
I am. I'm just my room is just in the background. I'm just gonna.
Oh, gotcha.
Off for the next 3 minutes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think we're gonna wait for another minute, and then we can get started. Yep, 20 people in the room right now. All right. Why don't we get started? Yeah, I'm sure there's gonna be more folks who are gonna join throughout the event, but we want to get started now for the interest of time. By introduction, my name is Vu Truong. I'm co-founder of Vietnam Finance Society, and currently working in investment banking at Macquarie. Been in the industry for around 4 years, and very excited to have everyone here, including our speakers and our participants. This event, I think the first half an hour is going to be kind of like a moderated set of questions to our speakers, and then after that, our participants, I think they're going to be around, there's currently 20 of you. You're going to have the opportunity to kind of like open up your video, say hi, introduce yourself, ask any questions that you have. And totally, this event is for you looking to recruit either investment banking or sales and trading. So feel free to just make yourself at home, and after that, hopefully you get a chance to connect with the speakers and say hi, introduce yourself. Open forum. So to start, I think we should just do a round of introduction from our speakers. I'm just gonna go from top to bottom on my screen. So Anh-Tu, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, my name's Anh-Tu. I was born in Saigon, but I moved to Southern California when I was 10 for like middle and high school, and then I attended and recently graduated UC Berkeley studying computer science. And last summer I interned at JP Morgan for the Deutsche One sales trading desk. And this year I recently started my full-time position on the same desk. And yeah, looking forward to this event.
Awesome. Anh, you want to go next?
Hi everyone, I'm Anh and I go to Dickinson College. I'm finishing off my senior year and I will be joining Bank of America next year. So I interned in Bank of America last summer in the investment banking division in the healthcare team, and I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Nathan?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us. We're all very excited to be here. My name is Nathan. I am going to NYU. In New York, this past summer, I've been working with CIBC in their investment banking division in the power and utility, power and renewable group. I had a great time, and then I'll be returning there next summer. And then I guess I'll pop it over to Yi.
Thanks. Sorry, guys, my voice is breaking because of the weather, so I hope you don't mind that. But yeah, my name is Yi. I'm from Hanoi, so representing the North. I'm a senior at Dickinson College, and I'm doing quantitative economics, a fancy term for just math and econ. And I interned for Deutsche Bank in their leverage finance group in New York City in my sophomore summer. And then I came back for the last summer, which was my junior summer. And then I also decided to come back after graduation. I saw one fun fact as well. Are we doing that? But one fun fact is I'm getting my license, my driver license in 2 weeks. So I'm very excited, and everyone pray for me. All right, Kristine, you're last.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm keeping you in my prayers. You'll pass. But yeah, I'm Kristine. I'm currently a junior studying finance at the University of Rochester, also from Hanoi, Vietnam. Was actually born in Moscow, Russia, hence why my name's Nga. But yeah, so this past summer, I worked at Jefferies within their investment banking division in New York City. I worked across M&A, leverage finance, industrials, and healthcare. Coming back for my junior year summer internship at Jefferies also. So yeah, excited to be here. And if we're going to do a fun fact, then I pumped into Travis Scott on the street of New York City. That's for what it's worth. But yeah.
Wow, never happened to me. Okay, so I think the first question from everyone, I think everyone would be curious to hear your story on what's your finance spark in terms of when did you consider recruiting for either investment banking or assistant trading, and what's the inspiration behind the decision to recruit for your bank or that particular industry? So anyone, feel free to go first.
I think I can go. I think for me, finance. So I think I applied to college. When I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to do, like a lot of people. But one thing I know that I didn't want to do, or just like didn't fit my personality and lifestyle in general, is I don't want to be a software engineer. I wish I could, but I can't. So I didn't become a software engineer. So I wanted to do something sort of businessy. So I was looking throughout my freshman and early sophomore years. I was looking a lot into equity research, more so than investment banking. But then I think just because investment banking recruits very early, and I talked to a couple of people who seemed pretty interesting, that's sort of like, all right, it's earlier, it's more structured, I got more resources, because everyone's apparently going to investment banking. So it just kind of naturally happens that I recruit for investment banking. And then once I kind of start, it's pretty much like a smooth sail from there. As in, it's a very straight, direct process of what to do, what not to do. So that's kind of naturally how I ended up in banking. And the people that I've met throughout has really kind of reaffirmed that I want to do this. So I think that's my story.
I can go next. So I was kind of on the same shoes. I was a pre-med for my entire last 10 years. And then I went to college and I questioned myself if I want to do pre-med and want to become a doctor. But then I thought like I have a real interest in biology, but I'm not that set to be a pre-med. So I was in a liberal arts school. I just explored different courses like finance and economics. And then I started really early since I was lost. And I talked to a couple of alumni from my school and just like network with people in general to find my interest. And I find that investment banking has a really clear structure and a really direct application. And I thought that I should start early too. So I think I applied back in sophomore year, like very early, and then I got the shot. And then when I was there for the summer, I thought that I learned a lot of like great skills and a lot of skills that that like I would not find in like some of the jobs after graduation.
I can go next. So mine was not very, it's not nothing dramatic. I just so during the first year, I went to the US, didn't know what I want to do, didn't know what investment banking was. I just have a general idea that I want to do something in business or finance, but in business I don't want to do marketing. I'm and in econ I don't think I want to go to grad school for econ. So I just talked to a lot of alumni. Again, echoing Ang's point, just talk to a lot of people who actually study and work here. So I know what are the options out there, because like the job market in the US is very specialized. So there are a lot of job titles that you don't even know exist. So the winter break of my freshman year, I took my winter break in New York, and I tried to reach out to as many alumni in the city as possible in finance. And I found out that about investment banking. So after that, I just went back home and do a lot of research on it. I think that it's something that is really interesting. It seems like something I want to do. And I think of it in terms of skill set as well, because I want to build to basically sharpen my ability to look at the big financial picture, but at the same time having a critical analytical mindset. And I think that investment banking help you achieve all those skill sets in a very short amount of time. Especially if you work in a product group, you have a generalist experience, so you get to look at various companies from a very comprehensive financial perspective. And you also get to learn to examine and value individual companies based on their fundamentals and financial performance. So yeah, that was what inspired me to pursue investment banking.
Yeah, I can go. I feel like everyone kind of touched on all the points that I wanted to mention, but one of the things that stood out to me was that last fall when I was in Vietnam, I was working in research at a bank in Vietnam, and I absolutely hated it because it was, to me, very dry because it was research. And I wanted to do something that is a lot more interactive. So, I wanted to do deals, and I wanted to just talk to people, be communicative, and that's just kind of like fits my personality more. And, within like those more popular finance career tracks that people go into, sales and trading was not something that I want to pursue, because it's just, for me, in terms of personality, I'm extremely risk adverse. So just, sales and trading is just not, wasn't what I was looking for. So banking just kind of like, fits my personality more. And I feel like it's a great it's a great boot camp for you to do whatever you want to do after in your career. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got interested in investment banking.
For me, I had like a pretty non-linear path to sales and trading. So my freshman year, I wanted to do pre-law, but then I worked at the law school, and it turned out I hated law. Then I was teaching during the summer of after my freshman year. I didn't like that either. Just kind of like jumping around a lot. And my sophomore year summer, I worked as at a museum where I actually got to become like a VFS fellow, where I kind of learned more about finance during that time. So that's when I learned about like a lot more about IB, S&T, and everything else. And at that time, the work in the museum, it's a nonprofit, so they didn't pay that well. Even though I enjoyed the work, I feel like the work was kind of slow, and I didn't really want to be in that environment, at least for now. So that's why I decided to pivot to finance and also recruit for consulting. But yeah, like S&T, but while I was like deciding between S&T and IB recruiting, I saw the hours that IB was working and that like IB has, and I didn't think that I would be able to manage that, since like I'm more of a early morning person than a stay up late at night person. And so that's why I decided to recruit for S&T, and I also recruited for consulting, but I got the offer for S&T first. And yeah, it just kind of worked out that way. And I really enjoy my time here so far, because I kind of get to use everything that I learned in college. So I studied data science. So that's combination of like computer science and statistics and math. And even though like it didn't seem like it at first, like my role was like heavy, pretty like technical related role, because I get to code a lot on my desk, just kind of try to like automate different tasks and just try to make like different processes more efficient for a team, so that we can like do more transactions during the day. And yeah, like I feel like it's a growing industry, even though like some people might say it's not. It's growing a lot, especially if you're studying something like technology related. Like the bank is looking, like all banks are looking for like technical analysts, where they can like help build expand on different algos and yeah, build upon current technologies and softwares that they have so far to make the banks more efficient in their trading processes. Yeah.
It's awesome to hear that that system trading is more technology driven and definitely less hours than investment banking. My next question is on the interview process itself. Kind of like anything you want to know in terms of how was your interview process? How many rounds, or which banks did you talk to? Kind of like, did they ask very difficult questions? How should people think about preparing for those interviews? And maybe touch a little bit upon HireVue as well. Maybe back in my time, I think that didn't exist, but nowadays I think students are asking questions on how to prepare for that part of the question, a little bit similar to the TOEFL, I heard.
Well, I guess I can start and maybe pass it over to Kristine, because like I recruit as a sophomore internship. So I have an assumption that it might be a little bit less technical than the junior, the actual summer analyst program. So for me, I recruit in the fall of my sophomore year. So around September, October of 2019. And the process was really quick. It only took until like Thanksgiving to give out offers for the summer of 2020. So the process is pretty standard. It has a resume drop, it has the first phone screen, and then it has a super day. So every round is like about a week or 2 weeks apart. So for Deutsche, I didn't know anyone, no alumni at Deutsche at my school. There were some, but they work in transaction banking. So it's a different division in a Deutsche Bank with different culture and everything as well. So it was really helpful to reach out to alumni in my school. So I applied for an event at Deutsche Bank. It's like an exploratory day. So it's your chance to get into the bank, blend in for one day, and then actually get access to the employees who work there to network. So I applied for that. It was a pretty selective event as well, but I got into it, and then I got to interact with a lot of employees. So I keep a lot of their business cards, collecting a lot of business cards to keep in touch. And then right after that event, the sophomore internship program application opens. So I applied right away for the resume round. And then, yeah, so in terms of the process, the timeline, it kind of looks like that. I don't know if I didn't do any digital interview thing for Deutsche specifically, but for other banks I have done. So I don't know if Kristine, you went through the same thing, the process.
The process is actually pretty different for me because Jefferies doesn't have a sophomore internship program in their pipeline. So it was just kind of like they just had like a new head of investment banking, and just sort of like they wanted to do it. They have been wanting to do it for a while, but now that with all the transition and all that, they finally got the chance to do it. But I actually got my offer 3 months before I hit the desk, so that was like pretty late. I didn't expect to get it at all. But what I do is that I went through a diversity program. I think like the same as you, but I went through a diversity program, and they were recruiting for my next summer, so like my junior year summer internship. But what they did was that they said, oh, hey, like we have 5 spots for sophomores, so we just do the same recruiting process, and then just sort of like pick out who they give out 2 offers and who they give out 1 offer for like the junior year. So yeah, I still went through the same recruiting process as for people who recruit for their junior year summer. Ended up getting 2 offers in March of this year, so that was pretty unexpected. I don't know if they're doing it another time, because I was like, I don't know if it was like a one-time thing or how are they going to proceed with that. But yeah, for me, I didn't have a lot of alumni within Jefferies. Well, I do. I have one, which is Rick Chandler, who also happened to be the CEO of the firm. So I definitely did not reach out to him at all, but he is very popular on social media, as everyone can probably tell. But yeah, I didn't network with any alumni at Jefferies just because because I didn't have any alumni at Jefferies to talk to. That was just the main reason. But yeah, and what I did was I got put on the wait list for the diversity program. I reached out to the global head of recruiting at Jefferies, very random, just shoot her an email, say, hey, I'm interested. And then I actually got the chance to meet her in person. And she said that email was the reason why she got me into the program, because not a lot of people had the guts to email her and be like, hey, I'm interested, because she was the global head of recruiting. So that was just kind of like, in my head, it was just like, what do I have to lose at this point? I'm just going to shoot her an email, and what's the worst thing in the world? I'm just not going to get in, right? So I did that and I got in. I'm not saying that if everyone does that, then you'll get in, but that's just like what happened to me. So that was very, and there's a lot of luck involved in the process. But because I was recruiting for the junior year internship, my first round was entirely technical and the second one was entirely behavioral. So that's definitely a mix. But also I know other people went through the process and it was like, very much behavioral strength is very much just like interviewer dependent. We can probably elaborate on that later on. But yeah, that's just kind of like my experience with recruiting for Jefferies.
Awesome. Yeah, I just want to wrap it up before I pass it to someone. My interview, my phone screen, and my super day were both, I would say the split is 70% behavioral and 30% technical for both rounds. So that varies across the firm. So yeah.
Maybe I can talk about your Molus interview.
Yes. So also interview really depends on each bank. So for Bank of America, I would say I got 70% behavior and 30% technical, but it also depends. I also got 100% technical interview for Bank of America, but it was just basic, I guess. I think my guide is just when you study for the technical interview, you make sure that you understand and grasp the concept instead of just memorize it, because they're gonna twist it. They're gonna have some real life scenario and you have to analyze. And for my Moldus one, it was so hard. It was like a bunch of technical and like a lot of math that you had to do and paper LBO and also a lot of modeling that you should do. But then that's only hard when you apply for the boutiques bank. I think for the bulge bracket banks, it's just the technical that you can study in your finance class, and maybe you can read more about it on Wall Street AOSIS. That's a very good source to learn technical for investment banking interview. And my interview, it was a higher view as a first day. And just imagine it was like a TOEFL IBT speaking exam. Like they give you a question, and then you have a couple of seconds to prepare, and then you just speak it out, and then they record it. And then if you succeed on that, they will pass you to the super day. Then you will have like 2 or 3 or more phone calls with like managing directors or like and from bankers from any levels. And that's when it gets more personal, and that when you get quizzed on more technical.
Yeah, just to kind of like echo on what Anh just said, I also went through the recruiting process for Bank of America, and higher view was hands down the most awkward thing that I've ever done. Like it was just like staring at yourself in the screen and talking. So I would recommend that if you have to go through it, just try to practice like speaking to yourself in front of the camera, because you could only do it. I know from Morgan Stanley, you can redo it like 3 times. For Bank of America, you can only do it once. And it's, at least for me, was very awkward. So just try to practice as much as you can. And also one thing that was very helpful for me when I was going through the interviews, that if you don't know something, just kind of like walk them through how you think about it. Because I got a question during my Jefferies interview, which is kind of like, which industry has a low beta? And at the time I was like, the word consumer just didn't hit me. Like I knew what I was thinking in my head, but I just like the word just didn't come up. So I was just like, oh, hey, like I can't remember the word right now. Just imagine like investing in like just like Pepsi or like cosmetics company, stuff like that. And my interviewer was just like, no, I understand exactly what you were talking about. It's just the word just didn't hit me. So just try to like walk them through how you think about stuff if you don't know the exact word or whatever that was going through your mind at the point. So yeah.
I would also echo Anh's comment about knowing fundamentally what the finance concepts are. because in the beginning of preparing for interviews, what I did was just, there's this guy, I was just literally copying off the guy, memorizing it without really understanding, because I haven't learned the stuff in class, and it's really my first time hearing about all of this. So I was also in a rush of trying to recruit, so I didn't really spend that much time on really trying to understand what it means, how all the concepts link together conceptually. So that was probably a good advice too, which is just to really understand the concepts. And adding to the list of resources that I just mentioned, I would say the biggest thing was probably like the 400 M&I merger and acquisition guide. That's pretty much where all the investment bank interviews are from. Like 90% of the technical questions will probably likely come from there. And if they're feeling particularly like they're trying to grill you, they're going to ask something out of it. But that's not in your control. So I think that guide is like the go-to guide for the investment banking interview. Yeah, and for me, it's I didn't go through the diversity recruiting program. A lot of it was like trial and error, and I think it's similar to, I think, most of the people here, in the sense that it's technical behavioral. I also had a case study, a small case study on top of it, but nothing kind of too difficult. But it's definitely, you gotta learn the concepts and know it. And once you got that, it's pretty much it's a lot easier.
Yeah, just going through like the SAT process for me really quickly. Most of it was, I only applied to 4 banks. So and most of it, I applied also through a diversity program through Alpha undergrad, which is like a LGBTQ organization. And so like through that, I just got a lot of super days without even going through high views or just like phone screen. So that was very helpful. But I know for 3 banks, for 4 banks. So one of them was Wells Fargo, which is like 80% behavioral, 20% technical. But the technical was mainly like probability and quick math questions. So like was like the square root of 4,000 or something. So just being able to like kind of like walk through your thought process on that with your interviewers. So that just took a lot of like mental math training. So that wasn't too difficult. Also for JPM in New York, I got flown out for the super day, and it was like 100% behavioral. So like that was, I think that was like really helpful in like getting me the offer. But I also applied for JPM Hong Kong, in which that was 100% technical. There was 0 behavioral questions. So that was very, very hard. Where just like mainly a lot of like technical questions on like valuation, on probability, on math, and on also coding, since I said I could code. So yeah, so like it kind of depends on where you're interviewing for and what team you're interviewing for also. And then after I got my offer for GPM, I also got interview for Bank of America, but I didn't go through with it. But I heard that was like 80% behavioral and like 20% technical with probability questions too. So like kind of similar process to IB, very similar.
Awesome. So we're gonna switch gears to your internship, and maybe you can touch on like what the task, what you did during your internship, whether in person or virtual. You like it, you don't like it, why you coming back, etc. So
I can go. So I did 2 internships with Deutsche. I did one in my sophomore year, and it was virtual because it was COVID. So I was really excited to go to New York that summer, but then it didn't happen. And my program was cut in half as well. It was shortened by half. It was really rushed. We didn't get to do any live deals because of compliance and security issues. So that was a very different experience than the one that I did this summer, which was in person in New York in the actual office. And we get the full experience of 10 weeks of internship. And yeah, we did get to do a lot of live deals, whatever is going on with the group, we're helping out in real time. So definitely comparing the two, I would say that this year it was very complete and it was the full experience. I really, really enjoyed it because it's just a great feeling to learn things and actually apply those knowledge, those training in real time and get feedbacks and actually contributing value to actual things that are going on. So yeah, really enjoy my experience there. I learned a lot because I was in leverage finance. So we have a lot of group specific training regarding LEFIN stuff. So that was really technical, but it was really helpful. The learning curve was definitely very steep, but being able to apply it straight away to daily work, a daily assignment is a great way to practice. And another thing that got me, the most important thing that make me want to come back is definitely the people and the culture of the group. And I think that a lot of people can resonate with that because like the work itself, we can all agree that it's not, it's hard, it's demanding. So it would suck if you have to work with people you hate. So lucky for me, I love my group. They're super fun and chill, really funny people. And they're so resourceful and helpful. They want us to succeed as interns. And yeah, everyone was really, really easy to approach. So I think that group culture and the people is really important outside the nature of the work itself. So that's for me. Anyone else?
I can go next. So for my summer, it was virtual, unfortunately. So like due to compliance issue, I didn't get to do a lot of like complicated stuff like modeling, I guess. But then at the same time, I thought I got onto live deals and I really know like what to do for the real job. And I felt like even though I did really simple tasks, I helped my analysts to shorten their hours, and even when it was virtual, like I messaged people to hang out, and I did hang out with my crew. And echo to what Nietzsche said, I really like the team culture, and I feel like I really enjoy working with them since they're chill, and it's just hard to work 90 or 100 hours per week with someone you don't enjoy as much.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty much the same thing for me. I got to work on a pretty big live deal, and I think what is most encouraging is that sometimes I was hanging out with friends like 11 p.m. thinking that I got no work, and then 11:30 someone pinged me, said like, "Oh, the client needs this by the next morning. Can you come help?" And I'm like out having dinner, so I have to go all the way home, feeling pretty upset. But it's a job, and I'm also an intern, so I get back as soon as possible. But I think like especially when working later at later hours, what was really motivating is just after I did the job, or I did whatever that the associates or analysts asked, and then they kind of show me that where does my work kind of fits into the whole like deal. Like I did a tab on Excel, and that tab actually ended up on the other side of the client. So and putting presentation together, and that also actually went on this other side of the table. Like knowing that your work kind of matters, and your work kind of fits into a bigger picture. I think that was very motivating. And I think the people that I work with definitely made a lot of difference in banking, because I've got friends at my school who did banking internship. They like, and I think they like banking in general, It's just that the people that they work with are pretty hard to work with. So those kind of like small things like that kind of make or break your experiences in banking. And I'm sure Anh-Tu will have a different story for sales and trading.
Oh yeah, so yeah, last summer I interned virtually at home in summer of 2020, home from California. So like that was a very very different experience since like sales and trading you start earlier, but you get out earlier. So like my team starts at around like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. So I had to wake up at around 3:30 a.m. in California so I could like be like just get ready and get ready for work and stuff and just like be fresh, like just take a shower to like feel fresh before starting work. Because it was always like really, really early morning for me. But my internship was it was supposed to be 9 weeks, but it was reduced to 5 weeks. And then 1.5 of those weeks were just training. So I really only got to spend like 3.5 weeks on the desk, which I didn't really get to, I guess, learn a lot about like what the team does and learn like kind of like all like the different functions that we get to work with. But I know for some of the other interns, a lot of the times they just like the team just gave them like a long-term project for them to work on the entire time where they didn't really get to do a lot of work. But for my team, thankfully they gave me a lot of like different tasks where to like automate different Excel sheets to like kind of to kind of make like dynamic Excel sheets and kind of be able to like input different things and kind of and run that and that exports something out automatically. So like I was able to help them with a lot of those tasks. And yeah, I just like kind of just networked a lot to my team connected. Since I was in person, my team connected me with like people that they think that would be helpful for me to get to know. Um, and yeah, I just did a lot of that. And I didn't have a chance to do a final project, but again, like a lot of other people did. So like yeah, like they would do like a presentation on what they learned about the team and kind of like pitch a trade idea. But for me, it was mostly getting to know my team and the people that we work with and the systems that we work with. And yeah, thankfully, like I really liked my team overall. I feel like everyone in there supported my growth. And so that's why I decided to return. And yeah, currently I'm on the same team and I'm working in person, which is something that I wanted since like I didn't really get to learn anything last year while being virtual, and it was hard for me to learn like to stay focused because sometimes I would just like take naps in the middle of the day. Just kind of forget everything. But yeah, being in person kind of helps me with learning and just meeting more people in general.
Yeah, and just to kind of echo what everyone just touch on is part about the people. So at Jefferies, I got to work across groups, so I could see very kind of like clearly like which group I kind of vibe with more and which kind of people I want to work with more and stuff like that. So it really made a difference because well the last like you don't need people to add more stress to your everyday life because you're already stressed enough with banking and all that. So for me, I found I have an offer to go somewhere else next summer, but I just ultimately decided to stay because for me, just the people make so much of a difference. There are people here that, you know, call to check up on me to see how I'm doing, stuff like that. Just sort of like if I stay up until 3 a.m., my analyst was on the phone with me until 3 a.m. to work through it with me, just to kind of like keep each other awake and to know that there's someone else there up there with you as well. So that's kind of like what I really appreciate during the internship. And yeah, happy to elaborate later on in the Q&A section, but that was just kind of my experience.
Awesome. I think the final questions is any final tips or advice to the audience today, knowing that they are students or looking to get into the investment banking assisted trading or just starting with the recruiting process, or kind of like 1 or 2 sentences on final piece of advice.
I think the best key is to start very early since this is so competitive and they have more applications every year. And I think you guys are doing a great job attending this webinar, and just continue to take class and review for your technical interview, and then also like talk to more people to know if investment banking is right for you, since it is hard, hours are long. And yeah, and I think the best key is just to start early.
Yeah, and I feel like something that I think is really important is just to remember that when you network, you can't build relationship overnight. So like be consistent with it, like talk to them, follow up and stuff like that. After you have a conversation, you may think a thank you note doesn't really mean anything, but that kind of like makes a difference, show that you care. Kind of walk into a conversation, know what you want to ask and just show that you're prepared and all that. Just don't be clueless about everything. I guess everyone's clueless when they first start out, but just kind of have an idea of what you wanted, just like what you're interested in, and to show that you really care, I guess makes a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think also networking is a whole another topic, a lot to touch on. So happy to elaborate more on that later. But I think that two things. So networking is super important during recruiting. Don't neglect it. You have to prepare network, and like you have to network and get connections alongside prepping for the interview and the actual application. They're equally as important. And the second thing is that you need to stay organized, like try to stay as organized as possible, have a spreadsheet to get to keep track of every deadline that's coming and every network connection that you have, because it does get really overwhelming, especially because I said it starts really early, it's crazy, and it gets really overwhelming. So if you try to stay as organized as possible initially, you're gonna go a long way, because it's gonna help you help reduce a lot of stress later on. So yeah.
And I think one more advice I add to that is that I think as international students, when, or at least for me, when I first started doing the networking and reaching out to people, I was very intimidated, just because I go to a very big finance school and everyone is super intense into getting a banking job. Like everyone started doing banking job in the freshman summer, and everyone keeps talking about finance. And so when I first started reaching out to people, I had this sort of like very big chip on my shoulder that I can't make it. And just trying to, talking to people over time really helped. But I think now that I look back at it, if there's one thing that I think really helped in general, which is having a group or a community that kind of, if you have a group of friends or something that kind of also recruit for banking, whether it's from school or this community here at VFS that are recruiting for banking. I think having that, knowing that other people are going through the same path that you are, doing the same things that you are, and you're doing all the right things, it's just maybe not the time yet. That is really, I guess, motivating, and it definitely helps a lot with just trying to figure out everything by yourself.
Anh-Tu, I think you're last. Question is the final piece of advice.
Yeah, just I guess like along with what everyone else said, just to have fun, I guess. Because like if you're not having fun, I feel like I know like people who are in IB or like also in S&T who like work really long hours and they were miserable, and they like all ended up like quitting to like go into tech or something. So I feel like if you're not enjoying it, it's like you don't have to go into this path. I feel like a lot of people talk about it, but like if it's not for you, it's not for you. Like you don't have to worry about it. There's like always like other opportunities that could be better for you. But yeah, like I like people who are miserable, like you don't want to like do this for like 10, 20 years because it won't be enjoyable, and a lot of times it will like affect your social lives and everything else too. So yeah.
It speaks the mind of all the investment bankers in this room. So all right, yeah, so that's it for the moderated session. I think for kind of remainder, I think as time permits, I think I don't know if the speakers have any time constraint, but I think we can take maybe another 15 minutes, half an hour, just maybe talk to the audience. So to the extent that you have any questions, you can maybe if you want to kind of like open up the video and say hi first, and maybe do a round of introduction first, and then if to the extent that you have any questions, feel free to just raise your hand, just open up the video and just say hi. Don't be shy. I think just literally like the safest environment. So if I want to see Van Trans raising a hand, so feel free to just like open up the video and just say hi, and yeah, it's just networking.
Yeah,
nothing crazy.
sure.
Yeah, Van, you want to go first?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you. So, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the panelists. Like, I know that, it's safe to say that, on behalf of everybody, I know this is really insightful. And as a student, like, I really appreciate your time. So, as a little bit about myself, so I have rather a different background. So I went to university in Canada, and I actually got an offer for CIBC Canada. But I eventually wanted to move to New York. So I was trying to recruit for next summer at New York, and I was wondering, do you have any advice for international student trying to break into the space that you're in right now?
Nathan,
Anyone
is it
wants to take the
CIBC question?
Oh,
Yeah.
are you so are you, what nationality do you hold? Are you a US citizen or a Canadian or Vietnamese?
No, I'm 100% Vietnamese, so I just
Okay,
went to
okay.
university. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I don't want to be too pessimistic. I would say that it's definitely a lot harder than if you were to come from a US college. But I've definitely seen my friends who made it happen. I think like lots of it's the same process that you have to network so that someone's actually going to pull for you when it comes to getting a job, getting the interview. That's one path. I know also another path would be to do 1 or 2 year at CIBC. In what office did you go to? Toronto?
No, I actually got into their Winnipeg office, so it's
Okay.
it's kind of yeah, it's outside of us.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, after that, and then as for transfer, there are a couple of people on my team who have transferred from New York to Toronto or from Toronto to New York. So that move is a bit like down the line. But I think now that you still got time, what's probably better to do is just to network. And then people will bat for you when the time comes.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think
Yeah.
that's how. I don't know if it's the same for you all. If I don't know if you have anything else to add, but I think that would be the way to go.
Yeah, that's a really great advice, and yeah, I'll definitely keep that in mind, going forward. So thank you for that.
Yeah, good luck.
And maybe folks can do introduction first, and then we can do questions later. Because I know some folks are waiting. So maybe just go from top to Tang. You want to go first?
Sorry, do you call my name?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So hi everyone. Thank you all for coming out to the webinar today. My name is Tang. I'm in 4th year studying finance at Northeastern University. I had prior banking internship, but not in the US, but at home. I was working at SSI for like 3 months, and now I'm currently looking for a summer internship for next year. So yeah, that's a very short, brief introduction about myself, and I'm happy to meet you all. And we can get to the questions later if you want
Awesome.
to do the introductions first.
Yeah. Ling, you next.
Yes, my name is Ling and I'm a freshman at Washington Lee University. And yeah, maybe questions for later. Yes.
So just introduce yourself first, and then we can maybe
Yes.
get to questions later. Yeah.
So I'm a freshman. Yes.
Oh well. I think Jack is next.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm currently at Fulbright University, Vietnam, based in Ho Chi Minh City right now. I'm a junior and hoping to break into investment banking.
Yeah, interesting. I think all of us are US-based students or professionals, so yeah, interesting to see you here. Anh-Tu.
Hi, my name is Anne. I'm a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania studying economics with a minor in computer science. I'm interested in investment banking. Yeah, that's about me.
Awesome. Then Chan.
Hi, my name is Chang. I'm a first year student at University of Pittsburgh. I don't know what path I would want to go, but I'm considering a career in finance.
Awesome. Then Zan Do.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Zhang, and I'm a second year student studying investment and financial risk management in the UK actually, and I'm based in Hanoi right now. Yeah, really nice to meet you guys.
Awesome. We have Vietnamese students in UK soon. Yeah, so feel free to kind of like you guys just ask any questions you have. I just want to make sure that everyone got a voice because we have a lot of time left. So feel free to ask any questions.
Yeah, I can go first. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So I actually do have two questions. My first question being that for the panelists, like how much networking did you do, and sort of what how did you do it to get someone to like push your resume across?
I can start. So I get asked that question a lot, how much networking is enough? I would say that you can't really quantify how much networking is enough. Just try to network as much as possible. And I think Kristine mentioned this, it has to be organic. So don't think of networking as just the final means just to get the job or to get the internship. You're networking with someone because you don't know much about the industry, you don't know much about the job, you need a lot of advice and information. So they're a helpful resource. And you also want to get to know them personally as well, to get to know their experience, like forming a personal connection as well. That's just how I personally do it. So I tried networking since as a freshman, even when I was not sure what I wanted to do. I know that generally finance, but I network with, I reach out to alumni in the cross majors and disciplines and job titles because I was not sure what's out there. So I just want to talk to as many people as possible to get to know the industry, the job. It was really helpful. And I follow up with them. So I form a connection and I try to nurture them across the 4 years in college. So I want it to be long-term. I want to be personal. I want to be organic. It's not like you reach out in your junior year, can I get a job, please? It's not, that's not how it works. I don't think it's, I don't personally do it like that. And you should always, it doesn't matter how much networking you do, but it's more about how many follow-ups you're doing, how many connections you're actually retaining after those conversations, how long those connections last for. So I would say that I don't have a concrete answer to how much networking is enough. I would say that try to reach as many people as possible and approach it with an attitude that you're learning something new. And you can offer them something from you as well. I mean, as a student, for me as a student, I can't really contribute a lot to their life. I'm not creating any value to their life. They're probably helping me more than I'm helping them, but still it's a personal relationship, and you never know when your presence in their life might be helpful. So that's just my personal take on it.
I think I didn't do any of the things that he said, which is like definitely the ideal way of making networking, building relationships, and all that. I didn't.
That's why you should start early. back to Ann's point, start early to make it organic.
Yeah, I think now if I got to go by starting early, starting much earlier, definitely helps, because for me at least, I didn't do any of that. I started networking the February of my sophomore year, and recruiting starts to pick up around like May of 2020. I started networking during February of 2020. And so all I was caring about was, who should I talk to so that I can maximize my chance of getting the resume pushed. So for me, it was very much a means to an end, which it's probably it's not a good like tactic to have, but I was under like a very big time crunch, and have to juggle multiple things at once in terms of recruiting. So I was just trying to talk to as many people as I can, just trying to get my face out there, and some of them went absolutely horribly. I did, like, some of them, I think because of how bad I did in the networking call, I didn't get the interview because of my networking. So I think for me, I reached out to about I'd say like 200 people in general. I talked to about 100 or 150 people in finance and banking in different banks, and then that probably came out to like 10 people who were really actually helping me, and the rest are just they were nice, they were helpful, but they didn't push my resume forward. So it's, for me, it's very much like a numbers game. I know that given my time constraint, I didn't have enough time to really build the level of relationships that he was talking about. There are definitely a couple of them, but most of them is just, I talk to them, know about them, and then asking them to push my resume forward. That's what I did. But now looking back, the earlier you start, the better. So I think, and also I think saving time on, as international students, there are banks that sponsors and banks that don't. Knowing that what bank sponsors in the beginning, before you even do the networking, really helps, because you don't have to save time talking to people at UBS because they don't sponsor. It definitely helps, but if you're in a time crunch, then talking to people at Goldman would have been a much better use of your time, because they do actually sponsor. So yeah, I think you're gonna have some awkward conversations, a lot of awkward conversations in the beginning. Things will start to feel more natural. But if you do that while knowing what bank sponsor and what bank don't, it's gonna save you a lot of time.
Yeah, it's kind of like echo what Nathan just said. Like, networking calls can go horribly. Like, so I would say work your way up. Don't start networking with like don't start networking by scheduling a call with an MD first. Maybe start with an analyst, and then just like go up, to associate VP and all that. Just to, if you screw up a call with an analyst, it's probably not as bad as if you screw it up with an MD, right? I mean, at the end of the day, they're not going to remember you anyway. But well, it's just for what it's worth. Then I guess just like start from the more junior level people. And then also I really like that you touched on the part when you just like do your research, know what bank sponsors and what just because I really appreciated Barclays, because they kicked me out of the application process right after I hit the I require sponsorship thingy. So that saves a lot of time. So love that. And I would say when you reach out to people, if you can make it personal, then try to make it personal in your email. Like maybe like, oh, I also come from like an international student background, just to kind of like touch on some point that they can relate with you and stuff like that. Like, don't write a networking email when you can just like change name and turn into like send it to like 50 different people, which can be the case because like there are a lot of people that you just don't have anything to relate to. But if you can't make it personal, then make it personal.
Yeah, I think can I go with the next question?
Yeah, go ahead. My
So
second question was actually about like the barriers that international students would face. So they already answered it. So yeah, thank you all for that. And go ahead, Jack.
right, thank you, Kang. I actually based in Ho Chi Minh City. I have never studied abroad before, so my question is very, Vietnam based as of now. So I'm just curious. A few of the panelists here have got an internship in investment banking or banking of some kind in Vietnam before. I was looking, into an internship next year for a bank in Vietnam, because probably if I look for an internship in Hong Kong or in Singapore, coming to a university in Vietnam, it would be like, off the top, like out of the question. Right. So I was just looking and listen to your personal story of how did you get the internship, and or like the recruitment for the internship in Vietnam, and how was that like, and was that even meaningful, the experience? I know Kristine was sharing that she did not enjoy the process much, but I would love to hear the perspectives from different people as well. Yeah, thank you.
I can share. So there was a link that Nhi shared about SEO Vietnam. I'm also from Saigon, and I went to the SEO Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City 3 years ago when I was a freshman, and I met some EY recruiter there, and there were actually a lot of recruiters at that event, and I just connect to them, and then I just like through connection I got an internship at EY Vietnam, which I thought the job I did was really similar to what I did compared to what I did for the investment banking internship. So that's one way you can try.
So did you go to the career fair or did you join the fellowship program?
I went to the career fair.
Oh, okay. So I went to the career fair and I did the SEO Vietnam Fellowship Program. So that's the next thing I want to touch on. That's the link I shared as well. So I got my internship at SSI Asset Management, SSI Securities, through the SEO Vietnam Fellowship Program. So I just want to flag that program. It's selective, but it's a really great program in Vietnam. And they have a lot of great connections and partnership with popular names that like EY, it's like an international name, but also a lot of companies, really high profile quality companies in Vietnam. So my internship with SSI Asset Management was really great. It was really structured as well. I feel like because it's associated with the fellowship program, so it has a little bit more structure to it. The thing is that Vietnamese internships in Vietnam are generally not very structured as in the US. We have a lot of structure here, but in Vietnam, you kind of just help out with whatever that comes up. And sometimes you do just random things. But through SEO Vietnam, I got a structure, and it was helpful at the same time because I was doing training with SEO at the same time as I was doing training with the firm. So it was like double training, and it was completing both your soft skills and also your technical skills to work in finance. So I found that really helpful.
And also, I think in Vietnam, not that many people took the initiative to reach out to people and talk to them. So I think if you do, especially if you're thinking about working for like a more international office, like international bank, like BDA or something, that would have been, I think if you reach out, that would have made a lot of difference, because most people would just drop the resume and wait for the interview to come. But if you actually talk to people beforehand, it actually sets you up much apart, or at least that's what I hear from my friend. But I think it's networking is important wherever you go, especially if you're working in finance, because of the nature of the job.
Right, thank you.
Oh, I can actually add something to that as well. Oh, right. Can I just add something? If that's okay. Yeah, because I had an internship at SSI, and I would echo Nathan's point that like not a lot of Vietnamese students are like active in terms of like networking with professionals. So I obviously didn't go down the structured routes like Anh and Nhi. So I was actually networking with people over on Facebook. So just try to do that and then send them the job application, your job portfolio basically, and have something on the side that shows that you know about investment banking. So back then I was creating sort of like my own side project. And I was like creating a financial model for Costco because I just really like the products that they sold. I sent out the model along with my job portfolio to like one of the analysts on Facebook, and she just immediately accepted me. So just like being active, showing that you have interest in investment banking and you know the technical stuff, like that really helps.
Any other questions from anyone?
Can I go next? And so like I hear a lot of people talk about like start early, but like can you guys please suggest me like what freshmen like me can specifically do to like start early effectively, and like what are the best means to like network, and among all the networks that you've got, so like the most helpful person you think, like how did you get connected to them?
Those are all really big questions. Do you want to pick one, the most burning question?
So like how to start early as a freshman.
Okay,
Yeah,
how to
like
start
most
early as a
effectively.
freshman. Okay, I think that I would say that there are 3 ways I go about when I was a freshman. There were 3 things that I did. So I didn't know, I'm assuming you're in college in the US, right? Okay, so, and you're not really sure what you want to do, or you just absolutely know that you want to do banking?
Like I'm considering between like banking and consulting, but like I'm pretty sure that I will do like we study business, and I'm also exploring computer science.
Okay, so you're still kind of exploring, right?
Yeah.
So what I did was that I know that I have limited time. So I know that the best way to know what the job is and what the qualification you need to apply for that job is to actually speak to people personally, like in person. That's the best way to network with someone. So, and you should always approach alumni first because you have something in common with them. And they're like, they kind of have this responsibility as an alum, as an upperclassman to help out those younger. So you have that connection. And so always start, if you don't know who to talk to, start with the alumni and maybe ask them to connect you to more people, like through the alumni. So start there. And I think the best way to gather information and network with people is by meeting them in person. But if you cannot do that, you do the second way. You cold email or cold LinkedIn people on LinkedIn or email to gather information and to network with them, maybe hop on phone calls. And if you cannot do that, you do the third one, just do research online. I feel like you should apply all of those 3 methods to maximize the efficiency with the restricted time you have. So I did all my research online. I read a lot about investment banking, asset management, different job titles, what those means, and the qualification for each job. And I try to hop on calls with a lot of people as well. And with the people whenever, because I live far from New York City and everything happens in New York City. So it's also hard to get to meet people, meet professionals in person, but I try to do that if possible. So I just try to schedule meeting, coffee chats, and arrange a weekend to fly to or go on train to New York City to actually meet them in person, because I think that's the best way to gather information and to network. You put a name to your face and you put a voice to your face so they remembers you. That's another advice for people on the Zoom call. If you do networking event, you always want to put your camera on. It's already hard enough to connect virtually. So you want your camera on, you want to be engaged in the conversation. That's how they remember you. And that's helps retain the connection better. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think in general, it's just know what banking is, what sales and trading is, what equity research is, so the difference between the different paths, and then start talking to people. I think that's the biggest takeaway. And start with your alumni and then branch out from there. Once you kind of exhaust your alumni network, you start branching out to people who have some sort of common characteristics, whether they're also international students like you, or they did computer science, and then they went over to banking. So that could be a common theme that you guys both did computer science and hated it or whatever. So those common stuff kind of really matters and makes them remember you a lot more.
So like, so like regarding alumni, so should we reach to like international students alumni first, or like the American is okay? Because like, is it like a little bit harder to reach to like American because they don't have like the same path like us?
I would say just like reach out to as many people as you can, like everyone, because out of like 50 people that you reach out to, probably 10 will respond to you. So like shoot your shot, like reach out to as many people as you can, because like not everyone's going to respond, and it's very common. So like if they don't respond to you, don't take it personally. They probably don't respond to like another 100 students that reach out to them. So yeah, just reach out to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Just put yourself off the mic and ask the question. It's fine.
Yeah, actually, I have a question about the higher view interview. So like Kristine said, it might be like really awkward, like talking to the camera. So I'd love to hear if you have like any advice or like any general guidelines for what kind of question to expect in higher view interviews.
I practice speaking in front of the mirror a lot of time so that I can familiarize me with the camera. And I think the questions you can find it on the internet. It's just really basic question like, why are you interested in this position? Why this bank? And tell us about you. Tell us about the time you were in a team. Like just some basic behavior questions. I think what's more important is how you say it, and if you say it great, and if you're not shy in front of the camera.
Thank you.
Oh, and I think one thing that was, I don't know, for what it's worth, is just that I did a higher view and I sort of like expected like, why banking, like tell me about your background, blah, blah, in like 3 different questions. So I already knew that, you have like 3 minutes for each, depends on firm, but for the bank that I was doing the higher view for, it was like 3 minutes for each question. And I sort of like expected it to be like 3 different questions, but they combine it into one. Tell me about your background, why you want to go into banking, why should we choose you, all in one question in 3 minutes. And I had prepared for each of the questions like for 3 minutes each. So that was kind of like, I don't know, just like prepare for different scenarios, I guess. Because if you need to combine all those 3 in 3 minutes, then what would you say?
So there's like a trick on Harvey. So like if they give you more than one try, like after your first try, you can just like keep rewatch, or like keep it on like the page where like, you can rewatch your video after the first try, and then like it gives you unlimited time during that time. So like you can just like pause the video and then practice, and then just like restart the video, like rewatch the first video, and then like start again. So like that's the trick to get unlimited time during high views. If they give you more than one try to do your video.
I think I thought it only got like 1 try for like each question. So
it depends on firms.
Yeah, it depends on the firm.
Yeah. It was like 1 try, but Morgan Stanley you can do like 3 times and unlimited time in between those tries. So
Oh, you should also keep updated on forums like Wall Street Oasis, because sometimes people take those interviews and they can post questions that might pop up in the interview on those forums. So I'm not saying that you're gonna get they're gonna chung tu and like get a question in the interview or anything. But it's good practice. Like you see those questions and you can practice along. It's just about the confidence as well. I feel like that's the most important part. If you feel comfortable and you're confident, then you speak better, do better video interviews.
So just to follow up, like will like HireVue be mostly like behavioral questions, or will there be like market-based question like a transaction or something?
It could be anything. It could be really weird questions. It's like technical, but it's like framed in a very so they basically just asking you. You don't even need to. If you sometimes you might get intimidated by the technical terms, the concepts, and I think it's okay if you don't know how to explain it in technical terms. Don't panic, because as long as you can walk them through your thought process, I think that's really helpful. So yeah, if you get a hard question, just try to process it and walk through your thought processes as much as clearly as possible. Don't just freeze and like turn the computer off. But yeah.
Yeah. Just like one last follow-up. Is it like recommended to like to do anything after they hire you? Like, do you have to like reach out to anyone saying? It's just like a question that was been, I'm not sure about.
If you're talking to a computer, who would you follow up with? Like regarding HireVue?
Yeah, it's like updates to like people that I have talked to. Is there like?
Oh yeah, if you want to, you can be like, I think I did a great job on the HireVue or something. Maybe follow up with people. But yeah, I think it's just the HireVue thing itself. I don't think you need to follow up with any specific people, because yeah, talking to a computer.
Thank you.
And also, I think for certain banks like Goldman, talking to people gets you into the HireVue. And once you get the HireVue, it's pretty much like a first round interview already. But for some banks, it's more like an automatic HireVue. I think for Morgan Stanley, it's automatic, but Goldman is more like a selective HireVue. So for those that's selective, reaching out, following up, it's okay. But for those, I guess it just reach out if you have a good connection to the bank.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so my question is actually directed to Kristine. So like you said, you got into the diversity program at Jefferies, right? And I actually like, it's called the Generation Diversity Symposium here in the UK. I'm not sure if it's the same in the US, but yeah, I got into that event. And after that event, they sent me like a link to indicate if I want to go into like an accelerated interview. And so I just want to know if you have that similar thing in the US, and like how, like basically how to stand out to get into Jefferies.
Oh, so for me, so I went through the diversity program, also got a link to indicate what it was like. If you have a link to an accelerated interview process, you probably would get it. I think everyone who got into, I mean, at least for my diversity program, everyone got an accelerated interview process. So yeah, just kind of like indicated investment banking. And then I would say after you get the link, after you indicate your interest, start like prepping for it. Because I thought I would have time. I thought they would reach out to me and be like, oh, like your interview is in like a month or so, and then reach out to me like 3 days before the interview and be like, oh, hey, schedule the interview for like next Tuesday. So I wish I could. I mean, not really, because but so I kind of like just like didn't have the time to do mock interviews and all that, just because I was too naive and I didn't know anything about the interview process. So I thought I would have time after they reached out to me. It was only like they reached out to me like 3 days before the actual the super day. So yeah, if you got the link, then you get the interview. So congrats. Just like prep as much as you can. If you need help prepping, feel free to reach out. And yeah, that's just like my 2 cents. If you, I don't know how to elaborate further than that, but yeah, if you have any more questions, just like let me know.
Yeah, thank you. I was just like in the accelerated interview, like who will interview you? Like I know that we're gonna skip several interview rounds, right? But who we're gonna talk to, basically.
I think it depends. For me, it was 3 SVPs and an associate, but I think it could just be anyone, like an MD, associate, VP, and stuff like that. For me, my first round, the first round of the Super Day was with an associate and an SVP. The second round was with 2 SVPs. So yeah, my first round was entirely technical. It was like, can you tell me about yourself? And then we'll dive into the technicals, which I almost lost my, I don't know, I was just like pretty hectic and all that. But my second round was like all behaviorals, and expect like the easiest questions, like what's an investment bank? Like, because they really asked me that. So yeah, just know that anything can come up, and try to best prepare yourself for it. It doesn't really matter who interviewed you anyway, because I didn't know who was interviewing me anyway, but just try to prepare for it, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I have a question. Does any of you have any experience with the financial case competitions at school, and how was the process like? What was the process like, and what's like the opportunities behind those competitions?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, sorry. So there are lots of financial case competitions in school. Do you have any experience about it? And what was the process like? And what are some of the opportunities after those competitions? And do you think those competitions are helpful?
Well, I think personally, I've seen more, when I think case study competition, I think more consulting. That's a lot of the majority of the case study competition that I've seen is more towards management consulting. Haven't seen one in banking though. I might be wrong, but I don't have any personal experience in competition like those, but I did do an econ competition. I just do it. I feel like any competition or any extracurricular activities that you do that show first your interest in finance or specifically banking or whatever you're specifically interested in, and second, to reflect that you have the skill sets that they're asking for in the job. So skill set could be the ability to work with numbers, like analytical skills and like teamwork, things like that. If you're able to, it doesn't matter what you do. If you do it and you're able to interpret it in a meaningful way on your resume and tied it back to the qualification of the job, to the job description that they're asking for, then that's helpful. It's like I get a lot of questions when people said like, oh, I don't have a lot of club activities or finance engagement, especially as a freshman. So what do I do? My resume is not going to be good enough for the interview. But I feel like anything, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a finance experience. It can be something else. It's about storytelling. If you're able to tie it to finance or whatever you're interested in business, then you're good to go. Yeah.
I add to that. I actually have been in 2 case competitions in finance, 2 finance case competition. It's definitely a lot. There's definitely usually a lot more consulting case interview, case comp, but there's definitely a couple of like finance one. I've been to the Barclays one where it's basically you have to do like an M&A case, and then there's also one from a hedge fund. And for those, it's mostly, especially those kind of happens early on in your undergrad year, so like freshman or sophomore. Most freshmen or sophomore would kind of compete in those, and those are kind of like your playground to really learn the technicals and really understand fundamentally, going back to our earlier point about trying really understanding what the concepts mean, what the financial statements are, what the valuations are. So CaseCom, it's like a really good way for you to learn that firsthand. And also kind of from what I've been seeing going to my school is those that did like seriously did the CaseCom in their freshman or sophomore years are kind of those that kind of stood out from the rest or have a much easier time recruiting because they're very strong technically. The technicals are very strong. They know what the stuff means. So I feel like those would usually have a slightly easier time recruiting because of their technical background. So yeah, would recommend. And it also shows all the points that you just said still holds very true. So highly recommend.
All right. Any final questions before we drop? I guess no more questions. So appreciate everyone. Yeah, go ahead.
Wait.
Who's speaking?
Yeah.
Oh,
Jack. Yeah, I was just curious. So this is a personal question, and if anyone could share. Any one of you wanted to sort of like go back to Asia, like to these financial hubs in around Asia for some time in the future, and how would you like if so, like how do you think the experiences gained in America or in other parts in the world could help you with the reorientation to the financial markets in Asia? Yeah.
I think Vo can answer that question.
Yeah, let me try to take a stab at it then. I think that your questions have a lot of layers, and I think it is totally dependent on the industry. But I've seen companies not caring much about your background as much as your pedigree. By pedigree, I mean where you went to school, whether they know the school, where you intern, where you work. So whether where you work is a brand name company, and sometimes people care about title as well. For example, managing director, vice president, and all that. But usually folks who tend to get a lot of traction are folks who went to like Harvard Business School, like the M7 of the MBA program, or kind of like have a lot of visibility, and those folks tend to be like hit up the most by recruiters when they go back to Vietnam. And in terms of compensation, I think that's still a big gap. Depends on kind of like what your expectation is, but I'm sure there's going to be like if you want to work in startup, I don't think I think the compensation gap is going to be very different from kind of like from working in the US or UK. But in general, folks who want to come back, folks who come back for either a personal reason or kind of like not for professional reason, they think people tend to think that they cannot go up anymore in the US or in the UK because what happened here, you cannot tend to be a bamboo ceiling in terms of like some guys are good executioner but they are not relationship person. Maybe you can have a better impact on coming back to Vietnam. And I think one of the examples I had met the current chairwoman of VNID coming to the US and say, oh, like, yeah, sure, you're going to be a good number cruncher in the US. You're going to be this good person working in developed country. But have you ever thought about kind of like going back and maybe try to like the projects that they work on are very super interesting and very different from totally their background, because a lot of them are from the finance background and end up doing either like roll out the e-commerce platform or kind of like roll out of kind of like the farm system, like producing Zao, for example, like fresh vegetables. That's like one of the bigger things and very important in Vietnam. But you don't see that problems in the US or in the UK because it's like so obvious, like everyone's like, oh, not appreciated that you're going to go supermarket and like you don't like you see like fresh vegetables, like in Vietnam, it's like a big problem. So like for example, Nguyen is also one of the very big figure went to Harvard Business School and Stanford undergrad, and one of the big example of people who kind of like have Vietnam in his heart and want to go back despite working at Morgan Stanley investment banking and come back. And he what he did, he was the CEO of BioSpring, which is like kind of like a food company for like poultry or pigs, right? So like these are like very simple problems, but like people tend to think about that in the US and kind of like try to apply it to Vietnam. But I think that have a lot of personal reasons. And then people, I heard people kind of like have to bring their whole family back, and if you married and you kind of like have to bring the whole family back, so your spouse have to be on board on going back. So for example, there's a couple I know like both come back, and one's like product manager at Momo, and one is an investor at one of the impact intensive funds. So both of them have to find new jobs that fit that criteria. So very difficult, I would say. But no, I mean, like, you see folks do that all the time. I think probably less during COVID, but definitely folks are thinking about that, and it's just waiting for the right opportunity or reaching out to the right opportunity. I think the most aggressive in the market right now has been, as you probably expect, and then followed by others. But I don't know. This is kind of like I try to give it kind of like a broad overview, but I actually don't know what specific you want to know on like more like a personal reason on like whether you're interested in going back or something. Like I think that's totally personal, and I'm sure everyone have different. We all have Vietnam in our heart, and it's very different for each person, right? I think for me, I think going back to the part when I have more financial stability and have more safety net in terms of kind of like my background, and maybe you can come back and maybe potentially take a pay cut or just work on meaningful projects. There's a lot of startups in Vietnam right now, and it's helpful to know people in the VC industries and get to know what the pain points are.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Anh-Tu. We were all taking notes. I was taking notes as well.
Oh, geez. All right. Is that it? So thank you so much. I think we are way over time, but appreciate our speakers staying to talk to our students, and hope that you guys, if you want to connect with us, feel free to send us a message on LinkedIn. Just say hi, and but appreciate everyone's time, like, including the speakers and participants, and hopefully that's helpful in your recruiting process, and feel free to stay in touch if needed. So thank you so much, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.